Hello, hello, hello. How are we doing? How are we doing? There's only two here, man. What's going on? Oh, we got 7 of y'all here. 1 like. Come on. Everybody that comes in, hit the like button. Hit the like as we come in. All those things are free. Like, and like, share. All that stuff is free. Subscribe. It's all 3. Don't cost any money. But I know it's kind of hard to you guys hit the like button. So we got some things we're going to watch today, but we're going to first try and get things sort of for YouTube.
The libs are actually melting down over this as we speak.
Oh,
starting this month, the
libs?
1776 MAGA resurgence
The
in
lifters?
When McConnell voted against RFK.
So I'll give you something to stare at. You can watch a little bitch there, boy.
Jr. He betrayed President Trump in the Maha agenda. Andy Barr. I'm Nick Morris, a pro-Trump conservative businessman.
Oh, there we go. Maybe
outsider.
YouTube stopped.
The political shockwave out of Kentucky is Mitch McConnell allies have been caught plotting against U.S. Senate candidate Nate Morris. So here to discuss the panic that has been reverberating through the Kentucky establishment, the man at the center of it all,
there,
Nate Morris.
Jericho. How you doing?
For joining us again here, Nate. I feel like there has been so much that has been happening in this race. We had to have you back on. So tell us about the latest and what's going on.
I got a glare, I could tell.
Well, this is what happens when you take on the establishment and you're taking on someone who's been in the United States Senate for 40 years. I mean, can you believe that? Mitch McConnell was first elected in 1984, the U.S. Senate. He's been in politics since the 1970s. And as you all know, I'm not a politician. I've never run for office before. I'm a businessman and entrepreneur. And I got in this race because I saw 2 McConnellites that would be no different than Mitch. And I said, enough is enough. We're going to have to change this up. And that's why I got in the race, is to shake it up and to provide something different that's aligned with President Trump and the MAGA movement, and not just a Mitch McConnell 2.0. And both of my opponents are Mitch puppets. I said this last time I was here. And McConnell has put together money in a super PAC to benefit both of my opponents, to try to take me out. And that tells you everything you need to know, that we're on the right path, that we're well positioned to disassemble and destroy the establishment that Mitch McConnell's built over the last 40 years and give the seat back to the people where it belongs. Not in the hands of political bosses, not in the hands of patronage and all the lobbyists that have benefited for years from Mitch McConnell. And that's why I know our candidacy is on the right track, and we're doing some great things in Kentucky because we're really shaking it up.
Well, Nate, I firmly believe that people in your state, throughout the country, they rejected Mitch McConnell in 2024 when they elected President Trump. Nonetheless, look, we have to be honest. There's this problem all over of incumbents or their cronies clinging to power by whatever means necessary. In this case, one of your obstacles, as you mentioned, is money. I mean, Mitch has big, deep pockets of money. He always has. So those guys are going to get that stuff. Your opponents are going to get, cash. How would you describe their plan? What do they think they're going to do to hold on to power? What's their argument against you? Are they pretending to be pro-Trump, or what are they doing?
Well, they're going to say that they're MAGA candidates and they're with the president. But let's remember what Mitch McConnell has done to Donald Trump. This is a guy that stabbed the president in the back every chance he got. He blamed President Trump for January 6th. And Mitch McConnell likes to talk a big game when he goes around Kentucky, just about how powerful he's been over the years. And I would say to Mitch McConnell, why didn't you stand up to Joe Biden when he was trying to put President Trump in jail? I mean, Mitch McConnell did nothing when they were trying to put Donald Trump in jail. I couldn't believe it. amnesty. You all may recall one of the key features of our policy positions in this campaign is a full moratorium on any new immigration coming into our country until we deport every single one of the 20 million illegals that have invaded our country that Joe Biden just led in the United States. And Mitch McConnell sat back and let it happen. And so my opponents, they're going to align with Mitch. Their campaigns are run by Mitch people. All their money's coming from Mitch. And now they have this super PAC that's trying to take us on head to head because, look, I'm investing some of my own money, but we also have thousands of grassroots donors around the country to stop Mitch McConnell and his machine once and for all. And this race is going to be a referendum. Do you want more Mitch McConnell or do you want more Donald Trump? And I think Kentuckians are going to side with Donald Trump over and over again. And I think this race is going to be another example of that.
We know that Mitch McConnell has the deep pockets, as we were mentioning. We know he has a lot of power out there in Kentucky. But take me through this Lifetime Achievement Award that apparently didn't end up going to Mitch McConnell, which I have to assume is a pretty big surprise to him coming out of that.
Well, what was so crazy is we had our state Lincoln Day dinner. This is when all the celebrate a lot of the victories. And we had gotten word about a month prior to the dinner that as a candidate for the U.S. Senate, we're not allowed to talk bad about anybody that's not running against us in our particular race. Now, the person who runs our party wrote that letter so I wouldn't say anything bad about Mitch. And then we find out that they were actually planning to give him a Lifetime Achievement Award. Mitch McConnell has been going around the state collecting accolades on his way out the door. And, you know, it's really crazy because he's had his day in the sun. He's had more than enough of these awards through his long career. And I think people have had enough. And we called it out. We said he does not deserve the Lifetime Achievement Award for stabbing the president in the back, for getting us into Ukraine, for running up our deficit and our debt, which is causing crazy inflation. And Kentuckians can't even afford to go to the grocery store because of inflation, and continuing to sabotage President Trump every chance he got. So there's no reason why he should have gotten this award. And luckily, I think that people in the party, they got that message and they said, we can't give this to him. So I feel like we did the right thing by pushing that conversation and pushing the party to show them that we're headed for a new direction. The years of Mitch McConnell, we can put those to rest once and for all. We can kill McConnellism once and for all in Kentucky. And I think this is what this race is all about.
Yeah, Nate, so well said. I talk to throughout this country. I don't understand how the people in D.C. still don't get it sometimes. The voters in our your name, they care about whether or not you're part of MAGA Maha moving this thing forward. So if Republicanism means McConnellism, I mean, you're doing the entire party a service. So that means it's going to die. And if that's what it means, like that was rejected at the ballot box. But I'm interested in what you're saying about this going on in Kentucky. That's a great sign that the Republican Party there, went along the right way and didn't celebrate someone who represents everything to the detriment of Donald Trump and the agenda. But what's your agenda for Kentucky, the great state of Kentucky, moving forward? What do you think the big obstacles there? What do you want to accomplish for the state?
Well, first and foremost, we've got to have a clean break from McConnellism, and this campaign is about coming from the outside, being an entrepreneur and a business person. I created a very large business starting out with $10,000 on a credit card. I built it into a business that eventually became public on the New York Stock Exchange for $2 billion in the waste management sector. And you all know the waste management sector is not the nicest industry. This is the Tony Soprano industry. So I've had a lot of experience fighting big entrenched interests and being a disruptor. But we need people that come from the outside and can finally end the reign of career politicians. Career politicians have run our country off a cliff. We know this. And the longer someone stays in Washington, it seems to me the more corrupt and the more tarnished that they get and away from the people's interests. And I think we need fresh blood. One of the things I talk a lot about is I don't need the job. I don't need the money. And I've committed to 2 terms in the U.S. Senate. And while I'm in the Senate for those 2 terms, I want to make sure also we don't get us into these globalist wars that are never ending and that we can't win. We've seen that with Iraq. We've seen that with Ukraine. We've got to get a balanced budget. We've got to talk about that and get that moving once again, because we can't leave the debt to our children that we have today. We're not going to have a country. And I think standing with the people of Kentucky, you know, I think most Kentuckians maybe don't know this, but Mitch voted for gun control. We don't call it Gun-tucky for nothing. You know, and the Second Amendment is celebrated here in the bluegrass state, and voting against their interests over and over again. We can't have a senator who does that. And I don't owe anybody anything. I don't owe the swamp anything. I don't owe special interests anything. And I think that's why I'm going to be the right senator for the state to bring a new tradition of leadership that's completely independent of all the bad stuff that we've had to suffer through with these career politicians, and finally give it back to the people where it belongs.
You know, Nate, I listening to you cracks me up a little bit. I remember I did for a hot second, I did some consulting for in the waste management industry. I can only affirm everything you're saying. This is a tough, rough and tumble world, and it also leads me to the last question here, which is, you know, you're an industry man. You know how these people are and how politics works, both from a local level, you know, on through state and federal. It's a dirty business. It's a dirty world, right? And the political world is, by all accounts, by everyone's understanding, corrupt right now. I'm just curious, what do you think causes that, right, among the sort of Washington, D.C. class? Like, psychologically, how do you evaluate these people who become part of the Borg? What do you think happens to them?
When you've got smoke-free satisfaction, you've got the freedom to do things your way.
Happens to them.
All right, hold on.
Well, I think you stay in a place like Washington for 40 years.
All right, everybody, here on September 5th, I am planning on going to Chicago, doing a live stream interview, and basically, on September 5th at the City Hall in Chicago. Please help out towards the traveling funds so we can get there. A, if I drive, or B, if I take a train. But it all depends if we get the money for it. So, September 5th, we need to have some money, guys, here before. So, let's continue on.
And you get patted on the back for all on special interest money, and just to get reelected. And Mitch McConnell's been obsessed with 2 things his entire career. That's money and power. Mm-hmm. And he came in to the Senate as a very poor man. I think he was in debt or had no money. He's one of the richest senators in the U.S. Senate today. He's worth over $100 billion. That's what gets reported. And that's crazy. This should not be a career for people. Our founding fathers did not intend for people who go into public service to make it their career to get elected to office. And I think that's fundamentally what's made America, it's set us back, it's made us corrupt in Washington, and we got to stop that. And we do that by imposing things like term limits on ourselves, bringing people from the outside, bringing in fresh blood. You know, I grew up raised by a single mom. We struggled. We were on food stamps. Most of my family members worked in an auto factory. So I've seen the perspective of the American worker, and we cannot forget the people that we go and represent, and people like my family who get hurt by things like NAFTA. You know, bad trade deals can cause generations of harm. And we've seen that with things like NAFTA and other policies. And this comes from being disconnected by thinking these things are a good idea. You know, people say your immigration stance is too tough. And I say, well, the people who are saying that are the same people that said NAFTA was a good idea. And we can't listen to the elites to get all of our information. I think that's what happens to guys like McConnell when they've been in Washington so long. They start thinking that the elites have all the answers, but we got to stay in touch with the people. And we do that by continuing to send outsiders and people that have term limited themselves and stayed connected to what's going on in the
Wow, Joe, this idea that Nate's talking about, that you should make money from providing goods and services to people and not being in office for a long time. That's a wild concept. A wild concept.
It is sad to see the number of people that go to Washington, D.C. poor and come out millionaires. Nate, if people want to learn more, where do they need to go?
Please come and see my website, natemorris.com. We are taking on the McConnell machine. We need your help and support. Chip into the campaign, be part of the movement, and please follow me on Twitter at Nate Morris. Would love to engage in conversation.
Go! Do you know how rude this is?
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Carmine Sabia for Explain America, and President Donald Trump is ready to fire a top official, and if he does it, it'll change everything. Before we get started, please make sure you like, comment, share, and subscribe. Those little things really help us out, and they help our channel continue to grow. Yesterday, Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. But why? Well, I think because he sees what's coming down the pike. So somebody on the Board of Governors, her name is Lisa Cook, she has been credibly accused of mortgage fraud. And she may go to prison. These are serious charges that have been levied against her. These are serious allegations, innocent until proven guilty. She has a right to defend herself vigorously, and she will. But the president doesn't have to have somebody in the Fed who's accused credibly of a serious crime. Now, this is a Biden appointee, so of course, everything she does goes against Trump. But if Trump can remove her, and he says, if she does not resign, he will fire her. If he can remove her and replace him with his own appointee, then Trump will have the advantage on the Fed. And you probably see a lot of rate cuts and a booming economy because of it. I want you to watch this report on it and let me know what you think in the comments.
May be far more important than Mr. Powell's monetary musings. One of the Fed governors, Lisa Cook, who is a controversial left-wing Joe Biden appointment, well, she has been criminally referred to the Department of Justice for alleged mortgage fraud regarding false statements on her primary residence. And another allegation has been made that she lied about all that in her disclosure forms to serve on the Federal Reserve Board. President Trump has jumped all over this here. Take a listen.
Yes.
You're going to fire Lisa Cook, the Fed governor, over her mortgage fraud?
If she doesn't resign, yeah. What she did was bad. So I'll fire her if she doesn't resign.
Now, if Lisa Cook is in fact proven guilty, the president could surely fire her for cause, and that would cause an earthquake at the central bank. According to Wall Street Washington watcher Dan Clifton, Trump will get a new appointment to the Fed, and that would give him a 4-3 majority on the Board of Governors, and that majority would also cause a major shakeup for the regional Fed Reserve Bank presidents all across the country. In other words, the fate of Lisa Cook could be the biggest determinant of the course of Fed policy over the next 7 or 8 months. How about that? Unsurprisingly, Jay Powell somehow failed to mention any of it in his speech. Gee whiz, gosh, I wonder why. And that's the riff. All right. All-Star cast, Steve Bohr.
Yeah.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's Benny. It has been too entertaining this week to follow the absolute slow motion train wreck of Cracker Barrel as they attempted to do a woke rebrand of a Christian Southern hospitality down home cooking institution, which I'm sure you have great memories at. So do I. And they've desecrated it and vandalized it, and they destroyed their logo. They destroyed their dining experience, and they've now destroyed. Be worse than what happened to Bud Light. We'll see what happens in the end. We're only a week in, But the destroyer of brands, the Grim Reaper, is knocking at the door of Cracker Barrel. His name is Robbie Starbuck, and he has done a full-scale investigation that will stun you. First, a really quick wrap-up before we get to Robbie's breakdown of what's truly happening inside of Cracker Barrel. One, Cracker Barrel redid their brand, obviously. Their woke CEO got dragged within an inch of her life. She's got the Rachel Maddow glasses, Keith Olbermann glasses. You see those glasses, you gotta run. Big, clunky, plastic frame glasses. Those people have problems. Their stock lost hundreds of millions of dollars. Then they got sued for discriminatory practices saying we're going to incentivize the hiring of pretty much everybody who's not like a straight white guy. Right? Pretty much like betraying your clientele and betraying also like the people who make your customer base work, right? The people who made your company work in the first place. Anyway, they're getting sued as along with just getting the kind of brand damage that you may well never recover from. And to top it all off, Cracker Barrel then attacks the fans. Oh, this is the worst move. Attacks the fans. Well, ladies and gentlemen, one of the fans of Cracker Barrel, Robbie Starbuck, somebody who lives in Tennessee. This is a brand that is based in Tennessee. And decided to go in and do one of his full-scale investigations. I want to start off by breaking down this incredible, nearly 20-minute video. And we have just short snippets we're going to play for you. And I encourage you to go and watch all of it on Robbie's channels, which will be linked in the description. But I want to break down like the main root of the parasitic infestation of this great American institution. It's the same root as ever. It is activists who wormhole their way in to these corporate structures, and then instead of selling biscuits and gravy, they push activism. They use the brand to push ads. It's totally parasitic, and just like a parasite, it feeds off the host like a tapeworm, kills it, and then it moves on. And that's exactly what happened at Cracker Barrel. This is what Robbie discovered. I want to start off here with Robbie giving you sort of a pedigree of how bad things are about to get for Cracker Barrel. This is the graveyard of Robbie Starbuck.
For the last year, our movement has killed woke policies at some of the biggest companies on earth. And companies that fight us, that test us, they meet their economic demise. When we targeted Tractor Supply, they lost $2 billion in market cap. When we targeted John Deere, they lost 10. When we targeted Harley Davidson, they fought back for the longest out of any company until finally caving to us, and it has utterly destroyed them that they fought us. I can go on and on down a list. Now, which path will Cracker Barrel take? I don't know, and honestly, I don't particularly care because we've won. They just don't know it yet. You see, their options now are to apologize, fix this, have heads roll, and get back to sanity, in which case we win, or economic Armageddon. They'll stretch this out and have multiple horrific earnings reports as they realize people stop going to shop there and to eat there. Either way, we win. It's just a matter of choosing the easier fix-it path now or the more painful path later. The choice is theirs. So it's their time. Who hate us, hate our values, and hate our country. A conservative can't give their money to Cracker Barrel. A Christian cannot give their money to Cracker Barrel. And so we won't. It's critical that we spread the word about this so our friends and family know what's going on. Yep. And I don't care about monetizing this video. Take it, use it, clip it, post it anywhere you want. You can monetize it yourself for all I care. Take the evidence that I've put out, though, and make your own content. I don't care how you do it, but make sure you expose this company for who they really are. And to the good people employed at Cracker Barrel, I'm sorry this is happening, but I know many of you stand with us, and we stand with you.
So that's the part of all the companies that he has been able to gut, and he has. He's the single most effective activist. He's the single most effective voice on anti-DEI in the world. Now Robbie goes in and starts talking about what actually happened at Cracker Barrel. And it begins, of course, with an obsession with alphabet propaganda.
Investigated Cracker Barrel. And what I'm about to show you is a company infested with left-wing activists who are more interested in safe spaces, pronouns, and virtue signaling than they are in their customers. I think the best way to start is by telling you what you've been funding if you've gone to Cracker Barrel in recent years. So let's start with Nashville Pride. Yes, Cracker Barrel is a proud sponsor of Nashville Pride and have been part of it for over a decade, along with participating for multiple years in Evansville, Indiana's Third River City Pride event. They even made LGBTQ+ rocking chairs for these Pride events. The same Pride rocking chair that they put front and center in their Tennessee corporate office and at their 2019 managers conference for the Cracker Barrel managers. That Tennessee corporate office I mentioned is located in a place called Wilson County, one of the most conservative counties that you will find in America. The fact that it's located there is important to this story because what's happened here is a microcosm of the parasitic operating procedure of left-wing activists. Like a parasite, they embed and spread. They don't just want to force their soulless, godless, hedonistic vision of the future onto blue hellscapes that their party controls. No, it's much more important to them that they shove it down of life. So sticking a pro-trans rocking chair into their headquarters in a predominantly conservative town is exactly the type of thing they revel in doing. And for a food service company, you might be thinking their focus should be good food and good service, but their own website says, quote, "This year, Cracker Barrel's focus was to be a part of the Pride experience."
A lot of this is, of course, inside of these companies, and this is what Robbie was able to discover, the DEI infestation at Cracker Barrel.
They're very proud of their pro-trans rocking chairs, let me tell you. They call it, quote, "bringing the front porch to Pride." And if you think that's out of alignment with their customers, well, you're right, but it doesn't end there. The Cracker Barrel website says that they believe that diversity and pride are pillars that should guide decision-making year-round. In fact, to uphold these values, Cracker Barrel also engaged with the HRC and the Out and Equal Advocates Workplace Conference. More on the HRC later, but let's dive into Out and Equal. For those who don't know, Out and Equal is an organization focused on forcing sexuality and transgenderism into the workplace. Cracker Barrel sponsored their conference and really went the extra mile by creating rocking chairs in every color of the LGBTQ+ pride flag. This was part of a large DEI push at Cracker Barrel corporate in recent years. Cracker Barrel was so devoted to this DEI push, before most even knew DEI was a thing, that they were given an award by the Out and Equal Advocates for having 2018's top LGBT ERG group. Yes, Cracker Barrel has a special group for LGBTQ+ employees. Again, back in my day, a club about the sex you like to have at work would have been called sexual harassment, but now it's apparently empowering and virtuous if you make a club about it. That's not the only award they've won, though. No, they also won Nashville LGBT Chamber of Commerce's award for corporate diversity. To really drive home how out of touch the company's become, where you can see his pronouns listed on his Out and Equal name tag, along with what appears to be a Gay Pride FBI logo and various virtue signaling signs. Cracker Barrel also took part in something called the Southern States Forum, where they discuss how to advance the far-left agenda and normalize transgenderism and their causes in southern states. At this forum, they did a workshop on the Cracker Barrel, quote, timeline of progress. This is about advancing LGBTQ+ issues. So you're getting Cracker Barrel vibes yet? I doubt it, but buckle in, because the crazy train is just leaving the station.
A lot of this is also driven by the Human Rights Council, which is, like, again, a mafia that threatens corporations that they must be woke, otherwise they're going to get a really bad human rights score. Okay, well, it's not how language works, but here we go. This is Cracker Barrel was totally owned lock, stock, and barrel by these people.
Now back to the HRC. If you're not familiar with the HRC and you thought of Hillary Clinton, somehow the actual HRC is worse than Hillary. In fact, in the most Orwellian twist, their full name is the Human Rights Foundation. With such a name, you might expect them to speak up for trafficking victims, free speech, religious freedom, or maybe young girls who suffer from genital mutilation in third world. Support the mutilation that left-wing activists call, quote, gender-affirming care for children. And yes, they support the hormones, the surgeries, all of it. The HRC also absolutely hates President Trump. And their president called President Trump a white nationalist who hates America during this last election.
We can have a 34-time felony convicted wannabe white nationalist dictator in office.
The HRC, they want workplaces pushing pronouns, transgenderism, full medical coverage for transitions, and to fund pride events both inside the workplace and outside the workplace. In fact, in this image posted by a former Cracker Barrel employee, you'll see that they've sponsored the HRC's, quote, equality dinner for at least 10 years. They even got a shout out on stage from the HRC for their dramatic embrace of wokeness.
In all of the ways, Cracker Barrel, I see you!
Cracker Barrel. Just thought about that. So anyway, the rot came from a couple key employees, and Robbie was able to figure out who those were. Here we go.
I remember that cubicle before. It belonged to a former employee who was actually a part of the HRC's Business Advisory Council in Washington, D.C. A very proud moment for Cracker Barrel executives, I'm sure. In fact, his LinkedIn says he's still on the council today. That employee, Steve, at Cracker Barrel for 15 years. That explains a lot. So this ideology has been permeating the company since as early as 2005. He left in 2020 to form a corporate consulting company and later to work for Out and Equal, no doubt to advance his cause in more workplaces. And if you think maybe the ideology left with him, you'd be wrong. Meet Rachel Campbell. She acts as the manager of training and development at Cracker Barrel. She's also... And it's important to note all of this because these types of employees play a critical role in turning companies away from the values of their customers and moving the companies toward wokeness. That guy I mentioned, he is the archetype activist employee that fueled the rise of DEI in corporate America. When he was at the company, the HRC and Cracker Barrel were so tight that Cracker Barrel even brought in an HRC representative named Beck Bailey to do a training on transgenderism and pronouns. I'm sure this was extremely helpful with the rush of customers they have that want to be called by they, them, or zim-zer pronouns, because that's apparently the clientele they're after today.
And some of the more shocking revelations here were about illegal immigrants and Cracker Barrel, trying to defend illegal immigrants. I mean, do you know Cracker Barrel probably has the most conservative customer base of any restaurant in the world? And here they are, defending illegal immigrants.
It probably won't surprise you either at this point to find out that a vice president at Cracker Barrel attended the 2024 DEI Industry Roundtable, where she encouraged all employees to champion DEI, and not just those with DEI in their title or diversity in their title. The company had set up a diverse supplier program as well, focused on bringing DEI into how they select suppliers. They also partnered with Middle Tennessee Diversity Forum, and they worked with something called Conexión Americas. To put this in perspective, here's an opinion piece written by the executive director of Conexión Americas, Renata Soto, where she says they partnered with lawyers to help illegal immigrants, and she goes on to message how deportations have created such dark times and virtue signal all the other
is to put the cracker back on the barrel. Put the guy back on the logo. Apologize to your customers. Say we got it wrong. And people are forgiving. It's amazing the capacity to forgive in this country. People are forgiving. And so do that. Apologize and then get rid of the people who made these decisions. That's what you got to do.
For free. And
Welcome to Doug in Exile. We're going into the new news today of a great expansion of the investigations that are coming, which will lead to arrests. I'm going to make my case. My other case is that you've been lied to about this stuff, that nothing's going to happen. Not true. This time it's different. You've also been lied to that something is going to happen with the Epstein files. I'm going to show you by the end of this show how that is the only distraction that can really stop these other investigations after real criminals doing active crimes today, destroying your country. Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots are. I hope you'll let me make my case. I've got an incredible quote by Dan Bongino. Video clip coming up. Here's Jay Schellenbarger, who's one of my favorite journalists. He helped break the Twitter files. A great journalist on Jesse Waters about the expansion of cases from John Bolton.
Do you think this is a prelude to Brennan, Clapper, Comey, a lot of the other rapscallions who conspired to sabotage the presidency?
I mean, look, I've been told, and I'm sure you've heard this too, the FBI is serious about prosecuting the Russia collusion hoax. That is what it looks like. And when you kind of look at the whole thing, I mean, to some extent, they're making it up as they go along. But I mean, we had intelligence released a couple of weeks ago that suggested that Adam Schiff, that a conversation with Adam Schiff where he said that they were looking for maybe not criminal prosecution, but possibly impeachment. That was way back in 2017. Get to 2019, they get that first impeachment. And you see Bolton again saying he's being very creative in his book, describing all the ways in which he thought that Trump should have been charged up with impeachment, or the impeachment process should have gone, and criticizing the Democrats for making their scope too narrow. He wanted it to just be around a whole set of decisions that John Bolton happened to disagree with, and make that the basis of impeaching the president.
Okay, so this is about we're going after Clapper. They will get him. This should be expansive. You have to take your time on it, be thorough, obviously. Now, here's Abby Phillips claiming she saw nothing. They got nothing on Obama, according to her.
There is no evidence that there was some top-down order of political retribution in either the Obama or the Biden administrations. I'll concede to you that Donald
Trump made up like the Russian hoax, and they used information to go after Donald Trump to try to undermine his entire presidency. Okay. And they all signed their names.
So this is the two narratives, right? This guy on the left there, Ben Ferguson, is correct. There's absolute evidence that Obama did what he did. And then this is what mainstream media is doing at CNN with Abby Phillip. There's nothing there. There's no evidence.
A second to talk or no?
No, but you can't say that didn't happen.
Listen,
it happened.
The Russia hoax. First of all, was Donald Trump prosecuted?
They did it to impeach him. He was impeached.
He was impeached. Did they prosecute?
Over it.
Okay, so
that's a big deal. It's called overthrowing the.
He was impeached over his handling of Ukraine. He was not impeached over the Russia investigation.
A perfectly good phone call, which, by the way, became accurate on Hunter Biden.
The second thing is, let me just read to you a list of people that Donald Trump and his top cabinet secretaries have said are going to be the subject of investigations.
Okay, now, so I'm trying to give you the news of the Trump agenda. This will give you the Trump agenda. This is the list of the people they have said they're going to investigate. That has to lead to grand juries, and then that will lead to some kind of an indictment. Okay, so, but it takes time, especially the grand jury part. Select the grand jury. They're not allowed to talk about it. They're not allowed to influence them. And then the grand jury comes back with a neutral, bipartisan opinion on the matter, allegedly. But listen to this list. Epstein's not on this list of arrests that they're going after. But we do have to go through this entire list before the country can be healed, fixed. And you can't have political parties like the Democrat Party go after someone like Trump or a political opponent ever again.
Special counsel Jack Smith, former FBI Director James Comey, former CIA Director John Brennan, Senator Adam Schiff, AG Letitia James, President Barack Obama, Governor Phil Murphy, and Representative Lamont.
Lisa Cook. Missing on this list is Alvin Bragg, Fonnie Willis, but you see the who's who. These are all the video people we've been covering. I have Murphy. I don't even know who he is. Maybe you guys in the chat can tell me, give me some backfill on that, because I need to do a bit of an investigation on him. But the other ones, I mean, I've done over 30 videos. By the way, our channel's about to pass 3,000 videos that I've made. I've done at least 20 on Jack Smith, Comey, Brennan, Schiff, Letitia James, Obama. So I've got all those covered.
That comes right from the top. I'm not making this up.
They put themselves on the list because
they put themselves on the list. This isn't just coming from Trump. They did the crime. And by the way, that list should be about twice as long. Brennan wasn't on that list. Clapper wasn't on that list. I believe Merrick Garland, 100%. Christopher Wray. Christopher Wray's not coming out on the news, though, and trying to defend his character. That's where all these other guys are getting into trouble.
Weaponize the government to attack their political opponents.
So in one case, let me just say.
Look at the lady on the right. There's a look. She's all trying to keep her mouth shut.
First, we offer overnight boarding. Your pet will stay overnight in your sitter's home and not only be treated like part of the family, but treated like a king or queen honey. Next,
there's a look. She's all trying to keep her mouth shut.
In one case, you all are making connections based on conjecture. In another case, Donald Trump is just saying the thing. The IRS.
So Obama didn't know what was going on in his government? He didn't know what his.
If you can provide me proof that Barack Obama directed the IRS to go after Tea Party groups, I will.
Okay. This is about when Barack Obama had the IRS remove 501c3 status to pro-life groups and pro-gun groups. They slow-walked their approval for getting charitable status or non-taxable status. If you were a left-wing environmentalist organization, you instantly went through. You know how this works. Now, her claim is if you can give me evidence that Barack Obama pulled the trigger on that and told people what to do. First of all, when you're running a criminal organization, the number one thing, the reason why you won't find many emails from anyone doing their job, getting a command from top down, you won't often find emails from George Soros saying, go get these people, kill these people, undermine this thing. It's if you're a good leader, you hire people below you. This goes for Trump, Obama, Biden, George Soros, Elon Musk. If you're running an organization, you shouldn't have to micromanage your team and tell them what the agenda is. All you have to do is be Barack Obama, hire a bunch of leftist Marxists, and they go do your marching orders without being told. Does that make sense? Trump shouldn't have to go and tell Pam Bondi, write this on a Post-it, get 3 coffees, and investigate Comey or Clapper. She should already know that. If you have the right person on the job, Tulsi Gabbard, if they get off mission, you've got the wrong person. Like Elon Musk will fire you if you're not doing the right things for his company. That's why my excuse for why Barack Obama never had to tell the IRS, go after pro-life groups. Duh. They're Democrats. This is also my thing on, you'll never find an email from George Soros telling Ruby Friedman to do whatever or change this machine. It doesn't exist because if you hire the right Democrats, they already know to do everything you can. If you're a ballot adjudicator, they already know any ballot that has a vote for Trump, you adjudicate it hard, and any ballot for Biden, you go, yeah, that mark is close enough, that's a vote. You saw the same thing with the hanging Chad thing going all the way back to Bush versus Gore. As soon as you have a Democrat looking at it going, that hanging Chad, is that a vote or not? Well, it's a vote for Bush. Oh, that's not a vote. That hanging Chad, is it a vote or not? Well, it's a vote for Al Gore. Yep, that's a vote. Call the press, tell them they're removing these votes. You guys know this is about bias.
See that to you immediately. That proof doesn't exist.
The FBI today.
It doesn't. She says the document doesn't exist. Here's Hugh Hewitt on Letitia James. This is about the people that I want Trump to stay focused on. Letitia James, one of the most egregious using the New York corrupt court system. Listen to Hugh Hewitt on how Letitia James, they've got her on the Constitution.
It's a huge thing, Brett. And the key phrase is the one you read, violates the 8th Amendment. That opens up the door, and I hope the president walks through it, to a 42 U.S.A. 1983 action against the Attorney General and Judge Engoron, who was sort of a Looney Tunes character through this whole thing.
Violates the 8th Amendment. Now, this is Hugh Hewitt, an old buddy of mine. I used to be on his radio show. He was very kind to me, and he kind of went rhino. He's just an old school Beltway Republican. He's mainstream. That's why I like quoting him on this stuff, because if Hugh Hewitt is saying 8th Amendment Constitution, which is that unfair, outrageous punishment penalty that she and Engoron put together, he said they've got her. And remember, he's also got a legal background. I can't remember who he clerked for. I think it was Scalia, but I don't remember. Anyways, I could be wrong on that. Anyways, he's the guy that knows all the legal side. I've learned from him for 25 years. On all this stuff. If he's saying they've got Letitia James, they've got Letitia James.
The lawfare waged against Donald Trump. This proceeding in New York was the most ridiculous. No victims, no injuries, nothing, and a $500 million fine for that reason. The court was embarrassed into withdrawing it. Even if they're Democrats, they had to do it. And I hope the president goes back for the millions of dollars the interest on his bond cost him. This is the first of many wins he will enjoy, because the New York judicial system is so badly broken.
Yes, it is. Coughing all night. Okay, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because the Democrats and the people that are not on board track you. with this. This is, I believe it's a big nothing. Here, just in, Trump's Department of Justice releases redacted transcripts and audio recordings of interviews with Ghislaine Maxwell. I just want to go to you guys on the news cycle, because I'm here to give you the news that's important, that you need to know, that's going to change this country, help Trump, save America. This has nothing to do with that. This is a distraction. Trump and the Department of Justice were pressured by this giant online explosion about Epstein over the last 6 months. They had to do this, okay? And including getting pressured to go and interview Ghislaine Maxwell. And they ended up sending her to a softer prison, even though she's the only one who's in prison for trafficking people. They now just lightened her sentence. That's what all this work does, is it makes it, the one person who got nailed for trafficking children just got a lighter sentence, an easier prison term. And she's hoping to get a pardon from Trump. She ain't going to get it. She's guilty. So the Department of Justice releases all these files. Again, I don't like causing wars with other channels. I'm not going to ever name names. But go look at all the thumbnails that have Ghislaine Maxwell on them, where they're trying to get you to watch them because they know this is a juicy story for people obsessed with tabloid. I don't judge people who are obsessed with tabloids. I get it. I love reading the tabloids. I'm only saying it's a distraction from the Trump agenda. Okay, I will continue to report to you this news. The Trump's Department of Justice released the Ghislaine Maxwell interviews. I looked at them. There's nothing there. No evidence. Nothing that can be, no new, that's my whole point. There's no new information on this stuff. Nothing new. It's a waste of time. And it's going to end up undermining, if we spend any time focusing on that. So this is a Democrat plan. That's to me the news I'm giving you. This is a Democrat plan to distract from Trump going after the real people we need to be going after. Barack Obama, Letitia James, Fauci. There's a list of 20 people and they're understaffed. This is hours of so much movement happened on Ghislaine Maxwell, a waste of calories, and they don't have enough people to pull it off. Now, here's NBC News. This is going to make my whole point. I just want you to think of, what did shows promise you was going to come when they said, we're going to get the Ghislaine Maxwell, we're going to interview her? What did they promise you? And then what did they deliver? I'm going to show you what they deliver. I told all of you guys, this is a waste of time. And again, I lost hundreds of subscribers of people that want to remain blind and dumb and off topic from MAGA. I'm sorry. I don't want to control your life. I want you to have fun. If you want to be obsessed with stuff, get obsessed with it. This is what actually came out of the interview. And I want Maxwell information. How many of you will change your opinion, and agree with anything she said? I don't agree with any. I did no incriminating information during the meetings with Deputy AG, Attorney General Pam Bondi, on high-profile individuals who interacted with Jeffrey Epstein. The transcript shows Maxwell met with top DOJ official for a 2-day interview session last month, okay? That was all the big news, and everyone lied to you saying something huge was coming. It's coming. No, nothing's coming. The woman, thought to have the most direct knowledge of Jeffrey Epstein's decades-long trafficking operation, claims there was no client list, no blackmail scheme involving the Jews and the Mossad and the CIA, and to her knowledge, no high-profile Epstein associates who committed illicit acts in connection with the notorious sex offenders' crimes. There's no list of illicit acts. Do you believe her? Are you glad this came out? Did you get what was promised? You were lied to. And lying to my audience makes me mad. I'm here to protect you from imbeciles that are misleading you into fear and conspiracies. That's according to an account provided by Epstein's convicted co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell to a top official in the U.S. Department of Justice during a highly unusual 2-day interview last month, according to a transcript and audio of the conversation released Friday by the DOJ yesterday. I'm not aware of any blackmail. I never heard that. I never saw that. I never imagined it. Why is Attorney General Todd Blanche, why are you wasting your time on Epstein? Go interview Letitia James. Go interview Fani Willis. We have limited resources. You're wasting our time. Maxwell told Blanche that during her time with Epstein, which ranged from the early 1990s to the mid-2000s, everyone's already old and practically retired who was even involved in this stuff. She never witnessed nor heard any inappropriate or criminal activity by President Donald Trump, which we already knew. Former President Bill Clinton, she said there's nothing. Now you've gotten the exclusive interview with Ghislaine Maxwell. She said there's nothing sexually inappropriate with Bill Clinton. Do you believe her? Are you glad they spent this time interviewing a convicted sex offender and a liar? Nor any of the well-known men who associated with Epstein, according to the transcript. So all I'm saying is that they're gonna waste your time on all these Epstein documents. Anything they say that you already agree with, you'll think is valid. Anything they say that they disagree with you on, you'll think is a lie. So we don't need the evidence. We don't need these. You don't need more information. Everyone's already got this theory concocted on the internet. Loose transcripts, loose information. Oh boy. I did said, and I did look for masseuses at Mar-a-Lago. This is so disgusting. So nothing happened. In other words, this went through the news yesterday like nothing. The buildup, they blow up last month to get on all your news feeds and get everyone excited. Oh, news, arrests are coming. No, they're not. Arrests are coming. No, they're not. Trump said so. Dan Bongino said so. Kash Patel, they said there's nothing there. They looked. There's no list. Throw Pam Bondi, one of the most important attorney generals ever. Trump said the best ever. They're ready to get rid of her over making a mistake, saying the list was on my desk. That was sloppy. She was just listening to the entire, what she thought must be real because of the internet. Meanwhile, here's Dan Bongino. This is what is really happening.
Let me ask you about, are you going to be looking into, Kash and Pam, any potential collusion between the DOJ, Letitia James, the novel legal theory of Alvin Bragg, or Nathan Wade or Fonnie Willis and the DOJ? Is that something? Has anything come up? Is there any way to determine whether or not evidence was destroyed in any of these cases?
Well, there's always a way to determine that. I don't want to comment on that specific case right now for a reason. I don't want to get...
They can't reveal. That means they're investigating all these people. He can't get into it, get ahead of it, or it'll spoil the investigation.
Head of the Department of Justice on that. But I want to say this, the FBI obviously has the public corruption portfolio. And yes, if you are a corrupt politician out there, if you are engaged in behavior, you know what you're doing, we're going to find you. I promise. No one is going to get off. The days of selecting and putting your partisan bias on and taking care of your friends, those days are over. You and a couple of, I don't care. I didn't come here for the money. I didn't come here to make. I know.
You didn't go there for the money. I can tell people.
I didn't come here to make friends.
This is a man. Bongino, he's a traitor. When he said there was no Epstein client list, he just told you the truth, and then he's refusing to argue about it in public. He's got a job to do. He's busting real bad guys. He's going after real investigations. I trust these guys. They know what they're doing. If he said there was something there on Epstein, and he said, we really got to pursue this, I'd believe him. But you can't tell me when he says, I looked, there's nothing there. We have other stuff, real important stuff to do. I don't believe he's covering anything up. People who go and impugn this man's character and say he's part of the inside scam to cover up Epstein and distract us from the real victims, the pedo ring that's across the entire United States. No, there's 300,000 children that Homan's trying to save. They're on the real ring with the illegals. It's not the secret. I see all the internet videos, guys. They're all these are invented in search of puppet show TV shows. I'm here to deprogram you, to open your head, to heal your mind. I don't even try and convince you. I'm just trying to say, we'll let the evidence, when the evidence comes out, I have not seen one new piece of evidence on the Epstein files in 5 years. Not one new fact has come into my head as I look at every investigation. Not one new photo, one new video, one new victim, one new criminal. Not one. So I'm very skeptical when someone says this is coming for reals. Dan Bongino, go bust Letitia James. We know there's something there.
Give a damn about friends. I don't have any friends. I don't want any friends. I got my wife. But if you're
you
a
want a friend in
politician,
D.C.,
screw
get
around.
a dog.
We're coming for you.
That'll help.
Yeah, exactly. You want a friend in D.C., right? Go get a Labradoodle like
dog.
I have, because there are no friends in D.C. You've been doing this, what, 30 years? There are no friends here.
He's not here to make friends and glad hand people or be famous. There's only one.
One of the most overpriced things I have ever seen be sold repetitively is men's razors. Going into the store and seeing that you have to...
There's only one key thing in public right now that can stop them. Here's Politico on what can stop them. Epstein files land on Capitol Hill. This is the big headline today. Now comes the waiting game as congressional Republicans and the DOJ coordinate on redactions. There's Thomas Massey, who hates Trump, off topic, trying to get you to look at the Epstein files. A headline on Politico, run by Democrats, getting you off topic. Congress has officially received the first batch of Epstein files. The Justice Department turned over a tranche of materials related to the case against the late convicted offender Friday afternoon. These documents, transmitted in compliance with a subpoena issued earlier this month by the House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, represent only a portion of what DOJ has in its possession, and it's not immediately clear to them. So no one knows what's in them. It's unclear to them. The documents are expected to have heavy redactions, which is all we've seen to protect victims. The children, the girl children, they don't want to abuse them by releasing their names. The Oversight Committee now plans to review the materials with both Democrats and Republicans have access, while under typical arrangement, the majority, in this case the Republicans, would control its disclosure. Either party could release the materials. So Republicans are going to look at it, decide what you can see, then it goes with the Democrats, and both parties can disseminate it out to the news and distract you from the real arrests. This is a threat because of the power that Epstein has in our culture, the power of these licentious scandal stories. Committee Republic, although it has no power now, I'm helping deflate this thing, guys. We're letting the air out of it. Committee Republicans have pledged to coordinate with the Justice Department to protect the identities of victims, yes, and ensure certain details to not complicate ongoing criminal matters. So there's people being investigated probably for other fraud. Could be Bill Gates, for instance, and they don't want to complicate the other matters by revealing all these things, because we want to get them for crimes they're doing today, not a dead case from 20 years ago. A spokesperson on the panel's chair, Rep. James Comer, who we trust, said in a statement that DOJ's production of materials Friday contains thousands of pages of documents. The committee, and by the way, Comer released these things, totally dragged his feet on it, totally just going, we're going to be transparent about it. He has to do it because he's serving the people. Quote, the committee intends to make these records public after thorough review to ensure any victims' identification and child abuse materials are redacted, the spokesman said. The committee will also consult with the DOJ to ensure any documents released do not negatively impact ongoing criminal cases and investigations. Democrats also intend to review the files, so they'll be throwing these all over the media, all over trying to get voters on the Democrat side before releasing them publicly, according to a person familiar with the Oversight Democrats planning, speaking on condition of anonymity. We just received the first batch of Epstein files from Trump's Department of Justice. So Trump is doing his job of being transparent. That's fine. What bugs me is the amount of resources put on this. Our team is beginning a careful review process. We will share additional information, says Robert, Democrat of California. One person familiar with the transmission of the files granted anonymity said the tranche encompasses more than 33,000 documents from that court case. Now, I'm going to ask you guys in closing here, you can tell me in the chat below, how many resources should Trump and the Department of Justice give to reading and going over those 33,000 documents? And how many of them should go over the 10,000 documents involved in Obama, the Russia collusion hoax, Clapper, because it's either or. It's you don't have unlimited resources. They've all been complaining about 50 to 75% of the Democrats out of their own departments. They have to hire new people to come in. They can put them on Epstein, or they can put them on Obama. They can put them on Ghislaine Maxwell, going over all those files, or they could go find Fani Willis's emails colluding with Jack Smith and the Biden department over a formal trying to perform an insurrection against Donald Trump. Which way do you go, Western man? I think the Epstein files is the biggest Democrat fraud, made-up Scooby-Doo. I don't even know if there's anything there. I have not seen a single piece of information. If I do get anything and I'm wrong, I will be glad to come out. I'll do a show on it. Guys, I was wrong. Look at this stuff. But the strategy is to go after the things that we do know. I hope you guys will trust me on this one, because I'm not sold out. I'm not looking for agreement either. I know this thing only costs me money and only costs me subscribers, and that's okay. I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to bring you the news and tell the truth and give you a real good strategy for Trump. Get Clapper, get Christopher Wray, get Merrick Garland, or you don't have a country. I'm Doug in exile. Subscribe.
German engineers created a way that lets you hear whispers from across the room using a $99 device that insurance companies don't want.
All right, I've got so many.
Oh, come on, YouTube. Seriously.
Big news stories. $1 million lawsuit is tossed out. I'll go into details. On the day he gets good news, Democrats accuse him of using his influence to enrich himself and his family. I'll go into details on why that is a lie. Russia does one of its biggest attacks on Ukraine, leading many to believe that maybe Putin is being dishonest with Trump and NATO. This and much, much more. Thank you guys so much for liking and sharing these videos. Let's jump right in. President Trump has poured more than $100 million into bonds since becoming president in late January of 2025, according to the Office of Government Ethics. There was a complaint that said that Trump was using his influence to get rich off of the stock market. The filing shows the activity began immediately with over 30 bonds purchased on January 21st alone, and nearly 700 by August 1st. Certified reports, however, confirmed the investments are entirely handled by a third-party financial institution, meaning President Trump and his family have no direct involvement on how his money is invested. The portfolio spans municipal and corporate bonds, ranging from Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority to health facilities, to Michigan Power, to Johnson County Park, Home Depot, T-Mobile, United Health Group, Wells Fargo, Morgan Stanley, Qualcomm, and more. So while the critics say, keep digging, there's got to be more there, the ethics watchdogs are saying there's really nothing here. Dig into President Trump to find how he's made so much money. Well, he's made most of his money before he became president, you dimwits. So while members of Congress are using insider trading secrets to become super rich Donald Trump hired a third party to manage his money and mostly put it into bonds. What a difference, right? All right, Vice President J.D. Vance gave a fiery speech where he discussed what he and President Trump have been doing for the country. It's really, really incredible. And I don't think I'm going to play the entire thing, but let me at least play some of it for you right now, because I think you guys will find this very, very interesting.
If you go back 50, 60 years, what is the fastest period for blue-collar wages rising in the United States of America? It is the time that we are living in right now, thanks to the economic policies of Donald J. Trump. You know what the worst thing for people at the bottom of the income ladder is? It's when you flood the country with millions upon millions of illegal aliens and force our poor Americans to compete for jobs against low-wage foreigners who don't even have the legal right to be here. That is what destroys the wages and the empower them to live the American dream. That's why we're protecting their jobs, lowering their taxes, and fighting to make their country safe again.
All right. He's right. This is what Democrats and the old Republican Party wanted. Lots of foreigners willing to work for pennies on the dollar, replacing Americans. If they could, they would send those jobs overseas to pay even less, fractions of pennies on the dollar, but not anymore. Under J.D. Vance and President Donald J. Trump, investment is rising, wages are rising, American workers are rising. The only thing that's really going down is these foreign workers that are losing their jobs. And this is really, really good for the United States of America. Oh, the irony. Senator Adam Schiff, the guy who's been dodging political bullets like a pro, is now staring down a mortgage fraud probe. Now, he says he's completely innocent, and there is no there. There's nothing to see. This is all political retribution from Donald Trump because Donald Trump is such a wicked, evil person. So if you're so guilty, why have you created a legal defense fund? Why are you now begging your voters to pour millions of dollars into a legal defense fund? So he says, I'm totally innocent and there's nothing to see here. For money. He's absolutely begging for money. So the DOJ has put a major spotlight on his alleged fraud. President Trump has put a spotlight. He falsified documents in order to get better mortgage terms, lower down payment, better interest rates. Schiff says that this is a baseless smear. However, he's the one that signed the documents. He's the one that put his name to paper saying that this was a primary residence. So he's in big trouble. And we're going to continue to expose him here on the channel. All right, now a new intelligence report shows Dr. Anthony Fauci knew with certainty that COVID was man-made and came from the Wuhan lab of China, where he gave money to do illegal gain-of-function research. Not only did he know this in 2020, but it's now believed he knew it as early as 2019, and U.S. intelligence agencies helped him to cover this up.
Yep.
This is the car I drove for 8 years, but as long as there are friends to sit in my car, I'll say that this car, and the same as new, this is...
helped him to cover this up. It's disgusting. Millions of people died, and now this guy report together.
I think every American should be upset with Fauci, no matter what their political affiliation. This was somebody who was the head of U.S. biodefense. Much like J. Edgar Hoover, he was sort of embedded in government for decade upon decade upon decade, and accumulated massive influence over that time, overseeing a multi-billion-dollar portfolio. And when a novel virus came along that a lot of circumstantial evidence tied to a lab that he had sent funding to and sent sensitive IP to, he used his position as the head of U.S. biodefense, including multiple meetings with the National Security Council in January and February 2020, never mentioned this connection, and in the public, used his position as, for a time, a trusted voice in the media to also suppress this theory that would have massive reputational consequences for him. So this is someone who put his own personal interests and covering his butt basically over national security. And there were a lot of who, when presented with evidence, looking at the viral genome and the viral Chinese authorities couldn't hide. Chinese authorities, they can, order their labs to destroy samples. They can delete sequences from databases. What they can't do is hide the genome of the virus itself. And our smartest scientists were saying there are clear signs that this is a lab-generated virus embedded in the genome that Chinese authorities are powerless to hide. And Fauci used his enormous influence to suppress that fact. COVID infected Democrats and Republicans, and I think no matter what your affiliation is, you should be upset that you were deceived for years.
I am, but now this new report coming out that the intel agencies covered this up and buried it, and that Fauci knew as early as 2019 is really, really frustrating. I really hope that they will undo his auto pen pardon, and we will see him basically brought to justice. I'll talk more about that in a minute. In a stunning turn of events, a New York appellate court earlier today tossed out a massive $550 against President Donald J. Trump, deeming it excessive under the 8th Amendment. The ruling from a divided 5-judge panel upheld Judge Arthur Engoron's findings that Trump and his son Eric and Don Jr. committed fraud by inflating financial statements to secure favorable loans. However, the court spared Trump the crippling fine, though it upheld non-monetary sanctions like barring Trump and his son from corporate leadership roles for years. Trump hailed the decision as a total victory on Truth Social, stating, "I greatly respect the fact that the court had the courage to throw out this unlawful and disgraceful decision that was hurting businesses all throughout New York State." New York Attorney General Letitia James, who brought the case, vowed to appeal, saying the court affirmed the well-supported finding. Donald Trump, his company, and his 2 children are liable for fraud. This case may now head to New York's highest court. So even when Trump wins, they say, we're going to continue to go after you and try to ruin your life. So I don't know that Letitia James is going to be around long enough to see the outcome of this. But as of right now, the $515 million wiped out. The $175 million that Trump had to put up as collateral will be returned to him and his family and his business. So it is a total victory, and we can all move on. And Letitia James will most likely be rotting in jail after doing mortgage fraud, the very thing that she accused Donald J. Trump of doing. All right, I've got more big stories for you, but first, a word from today's video sponsor. Hey friends, I've got something huge for you today, but it's only for a limited. This is a bad idea. These pardons, signed by an auto pen, could be questioned. And over and over and over again, the DOJ was saying, we need to hear from President Joe Biden directly. Biden never took a phone call and never held a meeting. And that's why I believe that these are about to be unwound. Let's go ahead and listen to what Mike Howell had to say about this, because this is a huge new revelation.
Right. So yesterday we put out some bombshell documents, and they were produced to us by Ed Martin. Quickly on him. I know a lot of the posse have been frustrated at the pace and the lack of accountability in this administration, but so long as Ed Martin is there is a fighting chance, whether it's Letitia James, Adam Schiff, and now the auto pen. And so basically, the auto pen's been at a little bit of a standstill. There's been these announcements of government investigations, but no real progress. But then walks in Ed Martin, who is the pardon officer and has access to these documents, and produces to the Oversight Project in email from one of Merrick Garland's top, if not the tippy toppest, career official in the Department of Justice, who the day after Joe Biden issued these sweeping pardons to what he was saying were nonviolent criminals, this lawyer on a Saturday morning pulled the whole thing is bogus. It can't work for all these different legal reasons. The president, not an auto pen, needs to actually weigh in and answer these things. And oh, by the way, you should stop saying that these are nonviolent criminals, because guess what? They're some of the worst violent criminals that you're actually releasing. So that's the document we put up. This breaks the thing wide open again. And I think the Trump administration is poised for action now, because they have, guess what? The Biden administration agreeing with them in their own DOJ.
The libs are actually melting down over this as we speak. Starting this month, the 1776 MAGA Resurgence Initiative is giving
what? The Biden administration agreeing with them in their own DOJ.
Well, speaking of the DOJ and transparency, I know you guys have also been at the tip of the spear on all things Epstein. I'm just curious if you guys have gotten any documents or any movement on that front.
So no, is the short answer. We were obviously very vocal. We thought the rollout of the announcement to close it down was clearly botched, and I think that's not even controversial to say right now. I think everyone agrees it was botched. But there was a development today. You might recall a month or so ago, there was this theory that was put out there that DOJ would ask a grand jury to release documents and to take everyone's kind of eye off the ball for a little bit. And then today, the judge overseeing that basically said, hey, guess what, guys? There's not really any documents here. There's no witnesses who even testified to the grand jury, or victims, rather. Only one government witness who had no idea what was going on. Hey, Department of Justice, you're the one who have all the information. You can release it if you want. Now they've, said, the DOJ, they're going to start giving things to Comer. As I've long been saying, this thing's a mess. It'd be great if the U.S. government could just come clean if Epstein was an intel asset of either ours or somebody else. I think everyone kind of knows what's going on at this point, and it wouldn't hurt just to be candid about that, one very, basic fact, and maybe a little promise never to take advantage of a, sex trafficker in this regard again.
I'm curious what you make of the appointment of former AG Andrew Bailey to the co-deputy director of the FBI.
Yeah, well, look, A.G. Bailey's a superstar. He, actually was involved at the beginning of our AutoPen investigation, because he brought the issue back to the forefront when he challenged all of Biden's basically actions based on competency issues. So I've long been a fan of his. I'll say it's highly unusual for there to be a co-deputy director of the FBI. So I think it kind of points to a potential shakeup there. There have been some missteps along the way. We haven't seen the FBI substantially reformed. Instead, we've kind of been told it's great now that there's new leadership there and we shouldn't worry and we should just applaud. That's not to say Cash and Dan haven't done some good things, but when you bring in a new senior leader at this point, I think it, tends to confirm what it looks like, that there's going to be some changes at play. I don't know if that's ultimately personnel. I don't know if that means the FBI is going to change in tactics instead of just, papering over old things. But I'm hopeful. In Bailey, we trust, and we've trusted before, though.
All right. I want to get your thoughts on that. So a couple of things. This top of the Department of Justice puts out this Saturday morning email saying, this looks really bad. You cannot do these auto pen pardons. Why am I not hearing from the president? I need to know the intent of the president. I need the direction directly from the president. Nothing ever happened. So I'm really hoping and praying that those get unwound. Now, the other thing, AG Andrew Bailey. Yesterday, I was reading and hearing that he's being brought in because of his legal expertise in order to help Dan Bongino. Now, Alex Jones and other FBI people, they're saying, actually, Dan Bongino might be getting replaced. And he is basically going to be training Andrew Bailey on what's been going on, get him up to speed. I'd like to know what your thoughts are in the comments. Are they gearing up with a co-director to bring people down because he has good legal experience? Or is Dan Bongino about to be replaced? I don't know. FBI whistleblower Kyle Seraphin told Alex Jones that he's hearing that Dan Bongino is about to be replaced. Mike Howell just said something like that. I don't know the answer. Okay. Tulsi Gabbard said it's time for DNI 2.0. She is laying off about 40% of the DNI workforce. Some of them will be shifted over to the CIA. Some of them will be fired. She cited decades of bureaucratic bloat, power abuse, unauthorized links, political weaponization, saying that the worst of it was the Russiagate hoax and the cover-up of the Hunter Biden laptop in order to install Joseph Robinette Biden as the 46th president of the United States. She also worries about biolabs, cybersecurity intelligence, and biosecurity threats. She said that this will save the American people about $700 million a year. Again, most of those are going to be reassigned to other parts of the government, with about half of those just being told, thank you for your service. We're absolutely moving on. Now, Gabbard, she is under a lot of pressure because not only is she trying to reform the intelligence agencies, but she's also trying to use past data from these very agencies to prove the coup of Barack Obama. So more will be coming out about that. All right, FBI Director Kash Patel announced earlier today that they were able to arrest somebody in the FBI's top 10. Let me go ahead and play that for you right now.
Watch what salt does to your body.
This 7-second artery flush could save your life. Even top to...
Go ahead and play that for you right now.
Under President Trump's leadership about protecting the homeland and our way of life, the FBI continues to go to the ends of the earth to chase violent criminals and terrorists and anyone who will do us harm. So today, I'm proud to announce on your show, thanks to the dedicated women of the FBI, we captured Cindy Singh, who has been a fugitive for multiple years out of the state of Texas. The state of Texas in 2023 charged Miss Singh with the capital murder of her own 6-year-old child. Her own 6-year-old child. She fled the United States of America years ago and was not seen by anyone for 2.5 years. And thanks to our great work with our partners in the government of India and overseas, we literally captured her for the first time in 2.5 years. She is now in FBI custody, and she's on her way to face prosecution in the state of Texas. And also, thanks to our great partners at the Department of Justice and the Attorney General, she'll also be facing charges of feloniously evading prosecution for those heinous state charges. And just to show you what the FBI and the G-men are doing here and the women are doing here, that is our 4th top 10 capture and arrest in the 6 months of Donald Trump's tenure. That is as many as Joe Biden did in 4 years. On top of that, we're getting folks like people who were involved in the Abbey bombing, and we've already captured one of those folks thanks to our collaboration with Director Ratcliffe. So the FBI is back to go. Trump mandate was elected to do.
Oh, man, that's amazing. They also just took down a pedophile ring where they were able to save children and arrest several dozen adults. I think Kash Patel's doing a great job. Would I like some of these big stories to come out, some of the big people to be arrested? Yes, absolutely. But the fact that there have been hundreds of children saved and dozens of creepos put in jail makes me very happy. So this is great news. Did you hear they've captured 4 of the top 10 in the first 6 months, which is more than what Biden did in 4 years. That's really, really amazing. Just really amazing. All right, more information is coming out about how whistleblowers are coming forward saying that they were absolutely told not to investigate Hillary Clinton, that the Clinton Foundation was completely hands-off. There's over 6,000 pages of documents that are missing as part of congressional testimony. And we now know that Sally Yates shut everything down. What we don't know was who told her to do that. Was it somebody higher up in the FBI? Was it somebody higher up in the DOJ? Was it Barack Obama himself? Either way, out of nowhere, This investigation, with thousands of pages of documentation and 19 bank accounts being reviewed, was suddenly shut down. Well, Texas might soon get those 5 additional congressional seats after a redistricting bill passed. This now goes to and go to Governor Greg Abbott's desk for signature. President Trump said, "Big win for the great state of Texas. Everything passed. On our way to 5 more congressional seats and saving your rights, your freedoms, and your country itself. Texas never lets us down. Florida, Indiana, and others are looking to do the same. More seats equals less crime, a great economy, and a strong Second Amendment. It means happiness and peace. But Republicans, there is one thing even better. Stop mail-in voting. Yes. A total fraud that has no bounds. Also, go to paper ballots before it's too late. At 1/10 the cost, faster and more reliable. If we do these 2 things, we will pick up 100 more seats. And the crooked game of politics is over. God bless America." Also, did you see that President Trump put out a fiery post on Truth Social demanding that Gold Star mother Tina Peters in Colorado be immediately released from prison, or he will he will go crazy on the state of Colorado. Now, she found evidence that there was cheating in the Colorado election. Then she was immediately arrested, and she's been rotting in jail in the military and died for this country. And Trump is saying, "I'm about to go ballistic if you do not let this woman go." Sadly, Russia launched 270 drones and 10 missiles at Ukraine. So now you've got many saying, what are we doing here? Are we really trying to bring this war to an end? Or is Vladimir Putin a liar and doesn't really want this thing to come to an end? Sadly, 13,000 civilians have been killed. 569 of them were children. Half of those came just in the last 90 days. So I can see why President Trump wants to bring this to an end and why he's been saying, I believe Putin wants to end this war. But the ball really is in Putin's court and Zelensky's court. Donald Trump is doing everything he can, but man, these guys are like trying to herd a bunch of long-tailed cats. It's crazy. All right, that's my update for today. If you could, give this video a like, hit that subscribe button, stay amazing, and I will see you on the next video.
Oh, wow. These are so beautiful. I am not going to miss out on these pumpkins again this year. These are a
Yes.
seasonal item. Last year they sold out before I got a chance to order them. These are the Starry Night pumpkins.
Welcome to Doug in Exile. This is where the Happy Patriots hang out. Welcome if you're a happy patriot. Come on in. Kick your feet up on the table. You can put your feet up on your table here. We're all comfortable in the South. We're going to get into the cancellation of Cracker Barrel, why I will never step in a Cracker Barrel ever again.
I asked this question. I think I probably know the answer. What if all the customers are coming at you hard enough about the look of the restaurant and they want to go back to the old way? Would you do it?
Honestly, the feedback's been overwhelmingly positive that people like what we're doing.
Shout out to the Quad Club, to the people that watch 4 videos a day. I can't thank you enough. My job here is to entertain, make the news entertaining, and keep you informed. The big news today, one of the biggest news items, is James Comer going after this Ian Sams guy who lied about Joe Biden's mental acuity. This goes into the AutoPen scandal. Let's watch Comer.
And yet no one can say for certain that Joe Biden was given the was given the orders to use the AutoPen. And if you're using the AutoPen to sign one document and Joe Biden's in the White House 75% of the time when the document's used, why not have Joe Biden sign the document right there? Why have to go through all the bureaucracy of using the AutoPen? I mean, this was a huge interview today, and I think it contradicts people are saying with respect to the president's mental fitness. There were very few people in, and that's when the majority of the pardons and executive orders were signed with that auto pen. I mean, I can't say this enough. I want to say this one more time so everyone understands. Ian Sams, who was the White House spokesperson for a significant amount of Joe Biden's time as president, interacted with him two times. So, we're going to continue to bring people in.
We're going to go into that. First, I'm going to show you Ian Sams. Let's show Ian Sams, this massive liar. Remember this wormy-looking dude? This is wormy-looking Ian Sams. This is July 2nd, 2024, just so you can hear in Ian Sams' own words lying about President Biden.
Have you ever heard any accounts like that or witnessed that?
No, I've got to say that doesn't look anything like the president that I know. When I deal with him, he's sharp, he's asking tough questions, and he's speaking, I think maybe most importantly, speaking passionately about what matters to him. Yesterday, when he gives the speech about what the Supreme Court did, he drove that speech. He was at Camp David, and he came back earlier so that he could speak to the American people about just how strongly he feels about this decision and how wrong it was. That's the President Biden that so many of us experience every single day.
James Comer said under oath, when you bring this worm in under oath, he only met. Here he is on the news saying every single day, MSNBC carrying this story, putting out lies to brainwash everyone.
Someone who's asking the tough questions so that we as staff can be sharp to do our job best for the American people and to help him make the best decisions for the American people, and how he's executing, like we've talked about during this segment, the powers of the presidency. That's the President Biden that we experience every day.
Experience every day. He's underlining it. There he goes again. Every single day. That's what we see. Why?
He admitted that last week he had a bad night. That he said in his remarks on Friday, he doesn't speak as smoothly as he used to. But the important thing is about the decisions that the president makes and how you do the job. The best predictor of how a president is going to be president is based on what the president has done. And
we did a vote on what he did, and America overwhelmingly threw the worst president in American history out. And we voted out Kamala Harris, who would have been probably the second worst. I think she actually would have surpassed Biden as an even worse president, because even though Biden was near comatose and senile, he's even worse than Kamala Harris, our first alcoholic. She would have been our first alcoholic special needs president.
Think about the way that he's displayed extremely strong wisdom and judgment over the last 3.5 years. You think of the way he's brought the world together against autocratic threats around the world.
And we only made the war in Ukraine worse.
To help restore American leadership and to try to help, bring some normalcy back to this country.
You don't have to persuade me. I sat across from him exactly a year ago. I think it was a year ago.
The last time this Ian Sams sat across from him was probably a year ago too. Yeah, we don't have to convince MSNBC. You got your marching orders back to Comey. I'm sorry, Comer.
And again, this person, Ian Sams, is the one that would counter everything Robert Hur, or anytime anyone would suggest that Joe Biden wasn't mentally fit, he would say, no, he's at the top of his game. Every time he tweeted out there several times, he gave interviews on MSNBC. Every time I've interacted with the president, he was sharp. He asked great questions. In there, under oath, he interacted with the president 2 times the entire time. The entire time he worked in the White House.
That's shocking.
That's astonishing. Any questions?
Did he tell you what those 2 times were? Like, do you know what those 2 interactions?
No, he really didn't have a good memory of the 2 times he interacted with the president, which would make me think that he didn't interact with him very long. Let's just think.
Even the 2 times under oath, he couldn't remember anything. Can you tell us anything about? I don't remember. Yeah. Stunning. What a massive. This is insane lies. Here's Comer. I should provide a translation through his thick accent, but I think a lot of my audience is in the South. Let me know in the chat below.
Yeah. Not only did Robert Hur interact longer with Joe Biden than Joe Biden's own spokesperson, I interacted more with Joe Biden than Joe Biden's spokesperson. I flew on Air Force One with Joe Biden in Kentucky when we had a tornado. I talked to him on Air Force One. Ian Sims never flew on Air Force One. Do you recall a president spokesperson not traveling with the president?
Comer spent more time with Joe Biden than Ian Sams. They should bring Comer in and use his expert testimony against Biden's mental acuity. But wait, hold on here. I got another Ian Sams, but I think I'm going to go instead because Comer's from the South. I think we're going to break into this. This is Cracker Barrel.
Your car's getting older, but your insurance is not getting cheaper. Ever wonder why? Look, both my cars were made before 2020, and
I'm going to explain to you because all of us in the South, hey, I love the banjo. You know, I was born in LA, but I live in Tennessee now 10 years. I was always around, I was raised in the San Joaquin Valley in California. So I was all around country folk. We loved Cracker Barrel. Okay. Here in Tennessee, I've had their chicken fried steak with an egg on it and slather it in gravy. And a lady would come out and give us our coffee. How y'all, honey? Hello, honey. They'd call us honey. I love me, the South. Cracker Barrel has been destroyed by this woke DEI, and now their stock is crashing. This is about woke LGBTQ rainbow attacking Cracker Barrel.
I'll give you another soundbite. I actually happened to be in Orlando last week with all of our managers. We bring them together and once every other year. And the number one question that I got asked, Michael, was, how can I get a remodel? When can I get a remodel? How do I get on the list?
Oh, really?
So because the feedback and the buzz is so good, not only from our customers, but from our team members. They want to work in a wonderful restaurant. So we're doing everything for our guests and our team members.
Well, Julie Messino, it's wonderful to have you here.
Pleasure to be here.
Thank you again for answering those questions for all the Cracker Barrel fans out there. There's a lot of great changes.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Robin?
Can I get in writing that the peg game is going to stay?
The peg game is staying.
Okay.
So are the rocking chairs, fireplace, vintage decor. It's all there.
All right. Okay, because that would be a deal breaker.
Watch this. Cracker Barrel stock is down. This is 14% in one day. This is so they have the old logo up here with an old man leaning on a barrel. And then this is the new Cracker Barrel logo. I got to get past this rap song because it is protected, but here's a black man with his commentary on Cracker Barrel's new redesign where they stripped out the country home location. And this black guy says he liked it better when it looked like it was for crackers.
He said he ate in a remodeled Cracker Barrel and he hated it. And I want to join in on the hate. If the Cracker Barrel don't look like the Jim Crow South, I can't eat there. Have the rocking chairs and the hint of segregation in the air. If I don't feel like I'm on the set of Sinners, then how do I know I'm in a Cracker Barrel? This is
I'm laughing at this because I have a black conservative Christian friend and we used to go to Cracker Barrel together. I can't give away his name, but he would always crack up. He'd look around in Cracker Barrel as a black man and he'd go, now I see why they call it Cracker Barrel. All I see are a bunch of crackers here. Oh, it's funny.
Gentrified Cracker Barrel. They done took all the character out of it. And I know the edges of the pancake ain't burnt. I gotta feel like somebody wants to say, good morning, boy. With respect.
With respect, Cracker Barrel brand in the toilet, but it didn't start there. This is Roby Starbuck on the CEO who ruined the brand. This is on the CEO. Another little known fact, Cracker Barrel was a Nashville Pride sponsor. Did you all know that? Do you want your money to fund Pride events when you go to Cracker Barrel? Here's the proof. There's Cracker Barrel down there in Nashville Pride, funded by Cracker Barrel. Is that Southern brand? Is this your brand? There's the Cracker Barrel behind. There's a trans person. Rainbow broke out. Special thanks, Cracker Barrel from Nashville Pride Festival. Stop by each booth for freebies all weekend. 24. Cracker Barrel's gone completely woke, guys. They're about to get the Dylan Mulvaney Bud Light treatment. I will never step foot in a Cracker Barrel again. They're trying to remove all their Southern comfort, that beautiful opening store full of all kinds of goo-goo clusters, and you can get Dolly Parton CDs, and inside all those cool signs hanging all around it. This is the cause of it. Julie Fels-Messino, CEO of Cracker Barrel and former president of Taco Bell International, has regularly expressed support of inclusion and diversity throughout her career. At Cracker Barrel, under Messino's leadership, the company's official materials and corporate messaging have cited an active commitment to inclusion, detailing strategies such as attract, select, develop, and retain high-performing talent with diverse backgrounds. They went for the diversity, experiences, and perspectives. The company's public culture of inclusion page specifically outlines initiatives in this area and details actions such as considering a diversity of broad candidate selection and broad reporting on the racial and ethnic diversity of its members. Tenure attracted support and criticism. This is Cracker Barrel's DEI, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion programs, pointing to company statements and initiatives that support inclusion and representation of various backgrounds, genders, there's only two, and ethnicities as assertive. They should promote merit instead. And here's the backlash on the internet. Woke Barrel. People started making their own woke barrel. So I made my own, inspired by these logos. Here's one I made. Cracker. Two crackers sitting by a barrel. I like that one a lot. Here's my other favorite one. This is how you heal your brand, Cracker. I designed this one for you for free. Double barrel. Come on, let's get back to the South. That's what I say. Speaking of healing.
This is the quickest way to clear out clogged lungs.
If you have short or weak breathing because of stuck mucus or...
That's what I say. Speaking of healing. This is Ron DeSantis. This is a great one on. DeSantis just announced the illegal alien truck driver that took the lives of 3 innocent Americans is being extradited back to Florida. This is about how DEI, which has taken over Cracker Barrel, took...
I don't know if you guys heard about this, but this guy got A1. You heard about this? There's another one, another incident with another guy. Another accident guy was basically illegal too. This one here, I like this.
The lives of 3 people in Florida. Listen to DeSantis on this.
Ron DeSantis of Florida is talking about the illegal immigrant truck driver who had the driver's license from California that killed 3 people in Florida. Let's listen in.
This is California experienced DEI gave an illegal who can't speak English. This is a Zoroastrian who couldn't speak English, gave him a license. He's driving in Florida, killed 3 innocent people in Florida.
I'm in Florida today, and he guarantee you. So stay tuned. You're going to be able to hear more for that. But how ridiculous is it that somebody would get a commercial driver's license who doesn't understand the language of this country, doesn't understand road signs, doesn't understand these things, and the feds, when they...
Hold on, I'm going to show you this clip. I'm going to get out of the way here so you can see. He's doing a U-turn with his truck, and a van with 3 people in it hit his truck and died.
And the feds, when they had him detained a couple of days ago, they did an English test, and he failed abysmally. Not even close. Like, not only like, a little English, no, he was terrible. And yet he's getting these commercial licenses from these sanctuary states.
Yeah, this is how DEI kills people even in states that don't practice DEI. My message to Cracker Barrel. He got a license in California. You know how hard it is? Remember when you got your driver's training and to study that little booklet and do all the tests? How did this guy pass that if he can't speak English? Did they give him a test in his language? Because I had to memorize that book, and if you got a certain number of points, you'd fail your driver's test. How did this guy, not able to read signs in English, get a commercial truck driver's license? My brother is a commercial truck driver right now, driving truck. You know how it was so hard for him to pass that test, written exam, driving exam, and this guy got passed. And then he drives in Florida. DEI. It's just insane. Here's my contrast with that. I love this too. This is a guy driving I'm going to turn the sound down. This guy is driving between 2 trucks and doing a backflip on his motorcycle is safer than giving that DEI guy a truck driver's license. No one got killed on that. Does a backflip off the bike, lands it. That's another angle. Here he goes. He goes off it, over the sign, sticks the landing. That move, less people died. No one died in that move. Now, just in contrast to the South, I thought I'd leave you guys with some good news here. This is on what Elon Musk did when he took over Twitter. This is David Sachs. He got the call from Elon Musk. I did not know this happened when it happened. And they revealed the actual policing and spying on you at Twitter before Elon Musk bought it.
I mean, there's just a couple of things if they didn't happen, all of this stuff would still be considered a conspiracy theory, or we wouldn't know about it. Like if we didn't, nobody else had filed. If we didn't file that lawsuit and seek discovery, and if the richest guy on the planet doesn't choose to buy Twitter and expose all of that, people would still be claiming that this was some conspiracy theory, right? Like we wouldn't, if you just think of the world would be a much different place right now. And so I think that's a big success.
Well, I agree. And just to take people back, you're exactly right that conservatives were called crazy and conspiracy theorists for believing that Twitter, then Twitter, was shadow banning and throttling.
My account was shadow banned and throttled.
We had the Twitter transition, and Jake Howell and I were there, and we were just helping out the first couple of weeks. And it was mostly just getting org charts and trying to rationalize the org structure. And Elon went in and started making cuts. But then I think I left around Thanksgiving, and we were all kind of with our families. And, I think we went down to Mexico, and Elon was still there working. And I remember I got a text from him at like 2 a.m. Like, are you up?
They all took a vacation in Mexico, and Elon Musk was working all night on Thanksgiving.
And you up?
Yeah.
You up? He's going to be a banger.
Yeah, I'm like, sure. Yeah. So anyway, he calls, and basically what he told me was that all the conspiracy theories are true, that we've now gone into the admin tools that the trust and safety team was using, and they literally have checkboxes to throttle accounts based on exclude them from search, and they had all these different tools.
So they keep you from showing up in search. That has happened to me on every platform I've used. So if you search the name, I wouldn't come up back when they shadow banned me. They do not shadow ban me anymore, by the way. YouTube, Twitter, they don't shadow ban me anymore. So you can find me now if you put in a search. But he said all the conspiracies are true. They went in and shadow banned you, removed you from being able to be searched at our government's orders, colluding with our government. And they said we were all crazy. The media sent out that we were all conspiracies.
That they created, again, to throttle traffic, which was effectively shadow banning. Or content from being seen.
And they didn't ban you outright because then you would know if you got banned. So the way that they got around it, but wait, Peters is currently being held in a state facility in Colorado, but she possesses critical information as a potential federal witness in the current investigation ongoing into the stolen 2020 election. I'm not making a statement on that. I'm only saying she's being held. Federal authorities, including Pam Bondi, in order to secure her critical testimony, must immediately move to have Tina Peters released into federal custody. Additionally, a thorough investigation should be conducted into the judge who sentenced her to determine whether her imprisonment was proper or influenced by bias. We know it was. Here's Donald Trump. Radical left Colorado Attorney General Phil Weiser ignores illegals committing violent crimes like and murder in his state and instead jailed Tina Peters, a 69-year-old Gold Star mother who worked to expose and document Democrat election fraud. Tina is an innocent political prisoner being horribly and unjustly punished in the form of cruel and unusual punishment. This is a communist persecution by radical left Democrats to cover up their election crimes and misdeeds in 2020. Yeah. And again, I'm only saying I want more information on the 2020 election. I'm not pushing out a conspiracy. I'm saying they won't let you look. They won't let Tina Peters out to look. The same Democrat Party that flies to El Salvador to try to perhaps for life, a grandmother whose brave and heroic son gave his life for America. Colorado, my mom lives in Colorado. must end this unjust incarceration of an innocent American. I am hereby directing the Department of Justice to take all necessary action to help secure the release of this hostage being held in Colorado prison by Democrats for political reasons. Free Tina Peters now. That's August 20th. Yesterday. Here's Trump with more. Free Tina Peters, he says. He tweets, a brave and innocent patriot who has been tortured by crooked Colorado politicians, including the big mail-in ballot supporting the governor of the state. Let Tina Peters out of jail right now. She did nothing wrong except catching the Democrats cheat in the election. She's an old woman and very sick if she's not released. I'm going to take harsh measures. Trump gave the warning shot to Colorado. He wants Tina Peters freed, or there will be harsh measures. And on that happy note, you're all caught up on the news. If you like this kind of news, the way you say thank you is you subscribe. Shout out to the Quad Club, to my people who watch 4 videos. Love you all. See you guys tomorrow. I'm Doug in exile.
All right.
One of the most overly is men's razors. Going into
a New York appeals court.
Okay, I gotta use the bathroom.
Just against Trump, $500 million. That's right. Trump just got $500 million richer today. Welcome to Doug in Exile as we go through the news. This is the third of 4 shows today. Shout out to the Quad Club who watch 4 videos a day and help keep the lights on around here. Let's watch the good news. Letitia James, she's crying in her supersized McDonald's meal.
$364 million civil fraud penalty. This just happened. It is a developing story. We're getting a lot more information, a big news story for the day. We're going to bring you more details as we get them. This just in. Also want to bring you this.
Okay. Well, don't you guys worry. I'll bring you the news on this article right here. It'll give you the whole rundown over at Newsweek. Oh, this is the best news, guys. This is huge. It shows the lawfare against Trump where Letitia James tried to break him. And it makes us skeptical in the legal system going, well, of course, if you run a case through Judge Engeron and Letitia James in Manhattan, Trump's going to end up paying $500 million. Well, this is the same legal justice system. It's not like a new judge appointment was put there in New York. And it's the system correcting itself at the appeals level. And that's what the appeals court is designed to do, to appeal bad decisions by political Democrats in New York. Remember, this is the worst place in the country to have a lawsuit if you're a Republican. And even at that worst place ever, even with their appeals court being the worst ever, they overturned this fine. Let's read. Trump wins major victory. Appeals court overturns New York City civil fraud judgment that's just came out today on Newsweek. An appeals court has overturned the massive civil fraud penalty against President Donald Trump, ruling Thursday in New York's lawsuit accusing him of inflating his wealth. That was a totally made up charge. All this money came from nowhere. All this charge and this fine. Letitia James, my hat's off to you. You apparatchik, you communists, just invented this charge from nowhere, including inventing the crime. This crime doesn't even exist that they charged him for. The decision came 7 months after the Republican returned to the White House. I'm going to get into that in a second, a 5-judge panel of New York's appellate division concluded that the $515 million judgment, originally set at $355 million plus interest, was excessive and unconstitutional under the 8th Amendment. They went back to the Constitution. The guardrails of the Constitution even held in communist, liberal, woke judge New York. This is a pretty high praise to our founders. I have to go back because that's what did this. It was our structure. What does that? It took 7 months after the Republican to return to the White House. I just want to tell you guys, this is also because everyone in the comments, again, I get it. I hear you, listening to you, not condemning you. This is to counter that mode of thinking. I want you to build an altar in your mind, stack little rocks in your mind about this factoid, how long it took. He was 7 months in office. This is a year after all those lawsuits came, which were purely lawfare trying to get him to lose an election. Number one, he won the election. So the voters countered all of these lies. Their propaganda didn't work. Lies didn't work. The American patriot is more present and solid than we thought. Build that altar in your mind. Put it there. This took 7 months. It took a year, but it took 7 months. Trump went through the normal appellate process, and it made it through, and he got justice. It got undone. He didn't pay a cent of it. It kept stacking up interest, but he didn't pay a cent of it. Put that on your altar. It takes time. For everyone going like, Bondi, she's not doing anything. Kash Patel, there's no arrest. Blah, blah, blah. It takes time, okay? Wheels of justice, wheels of God grind slow, but fine and thorough. Trump had managed to stave off immediate collection by posting a $175 million bond earlier this year. That sum will now be repaid to the Trump organization. I think they should have to repay it with, I'll let the chat determine what percentage of interest rate. Isn't normal if you have a credit card fee, isn't it about 18% interest? I say we run up 18% and pay all of Trump's legal fees, all those lawyers that Trump went with, pay all them their fees. Jack it up, guys. Write everything off on this lawsuit that you can. Your car payment, your daughter going to Cabo San Lucas, where you talked about this case, write that off, put that on this case. Eric Trump, the president's son, posted on X, total victory in the sham New York Attorney General case after 5 years of hell. Justice prevailed. This goes back to my first episode also about Steve Bannon having to do jail time. Sometimes you have to go through hell as a patriot, guys. It's not going to be sun and roses. Trump took a bullet, had all these lawsuits against him, had to risk everything, almost would have gone bankrupt and drained if the evil system won. He had faith, and it worked out. Glory be to God. God is good. A compliment to America, the Constitution, and our justice system, even though it's all riddled with Democrats in Manhattan. They did their job. Credit. They're probably Obama and Biden appointees. There's probably a couple Trump appointees in there too. But credit. You got to give them credit. Because you can't just be negative about everything, people. Some of you post every single time there's a new video up, I see the same names. Nothing's going to happen. Everyone's going to walk. There's no justice. It's all over. No, it's not. No, it's not. Don't degrade the good work of this appellate court. Their good name needs to remain standing, at least on this show. What to know about the civil fraud case against Donald Trump? The New York Attorney General Letitia James, that fraud, that lady, your butt needs to go to jail. She needs to be hit hard for this one. In fact, yesterday they were saying she should step down. She absolutely should step down. This is not what an attorney general does. Filed a sweeping civil fraud lawsuit in 2022, 3 years ago, against Donald Trump, the Trump Organization, and his adult sons, Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump. What a beast this woman is. What a fraud beast. Alleging they inflated property values to secure favorable loans and insurance terms. The case unfolded alongside Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg, guilty. Separate prosecution of Trump on criminal charges, underscoring the breadth of legal challenges the former president faced in New York. The civil trial began in October of 2023 and concluded in January of 2024, just over a year ago. We covered every twist and turn of this one. Looking forward to this day when true justice would come, and we were right to hope for that. With Judge Arthur Engeron, Judge Nudie took pictures of himself shirtless after his weight training. What a trashy, duplicitous monster that guy is. What an embarrassment on you, Engeron. You should also step down in shame. Family, they can't just go after you. It's like going after Superman. Trump's like Superman. Remember in Superman 2? Superman is bulletproof. You can't hurt Trump. So you go after them. You send your FBI into Mar-a-Lago and you go through Melania Trump's underwear drawer. You search Barron Trump's room for classified documents. Go after his children. Eric Trump, Trump Jr., engaged in persistent financial deception was what the claim was. He ordered Trump to pay $355 million, a penalty that with interest surged past $550. $355 million was absurd. It was the highest punishment yet for no crime. There was no victim. Everyone who he supposedly defrauded said they'd love to do business with him again. That's before he was president, when he had no power. So it's not over power. Engoron's ruling also carried sweeping business restrictions. Donald Trump was barred from running any New York company for 3 years. What's the penalty for that, New York? There needs to be a penalty against Engoron for that. While Eric and Donald Jr. face 2-year bans from serving as corporate officers. Again, they need damages for slander against their reputation, fiscal damages from New York, from Engoron, from Letitia James. The court required continued oversight of the Trump Organization through an independent compliance director and a court-appointed monitor. This is the human resources of your government, the communist insect hive running their little oversight committees on your personal business, further constraining the family business. As Bragg pressed forward with his criminal hush money case in parallel, Trump denounced both efforts as politically motivated witch hunts, and now, in hindsight, everyone made fun of him for calling it a witch hunt. They said he was undermining democracy and our justice system. No, the truth actually came out and proved this was a witch hunt. He was being frugal with his words. Trump was being reasonable and nuanced with his words for those who say he's too blunt. He was telling the truth. Everyone who said that witch hunt didn't apply, which would be CNN, MSNBC, they were the ones that were being irresponsible with their words. New York Appellate Judge Division ruling, the appeals panel struck down the financial penalty entirely, but left open the possibility of further appeals to New York's highest court. So there could be more appeals now that this fine has been overturned. They could appeal the whole case, which they're also working on. Other sanctions Engoron imposed, such as temporarily barring Trump and his sons from corporate leadership roles, remain on hold while the appeals continue. The appeals court divided on the case's merits, and the trial judge's fraud finding threw out Engoron's penalty in full, but left the door open for further appeals to New York's highest court, the Court of Appeals. Go up to the higher court, Trump. You got good precedent now. In a sharply worded opinion, which totaled more than 300 pages. Oh, I'll read them all on the air for you guys right now. 300 pages. Either all of you would turn off this show or you'd die before I would die before I got through those 300 pages. Judges Diane Renwick and Peter H. Moulton wrote that while Engoron's restrictions on Trump's business practices were, quote, well crafted, unquote, the staggering monetary punishment crossed a constitutional line. So it's well-crafted immorality.
Come on, what is going on now?
Lie. Quote, the court's disgorgement order, which directs that defendants pay nearly $500 million to the state of New York. They didn't want to set that precedent. And Kevin O'Leary talked about this. Businesses in New York were waiting to see what happens because they would have just fled.
What happened
and
there?
then look, we're next. Is an excessive fine that violates the 8th Amendment.
Hold on, guys. I don't know what's going on here. I never had that problem before. That's weird. Why is it? Hold on. That's weird. What's going on here? I don't know. Hold on. Usually the thing will play. It's all plugged in there. We'll get it working, guys. Just hold on.
Noted. The panel's deliberation took nearly.
Okay, come on, YouTube. Seriously.
Typical turnaround of weeks or a few months. You know what a bunch of Democrats are saying about that fine taking so long? They're saying we're going to walk. There's no justice. No, it takes time. Even the Democrats trying to get Trump, it takes time.
Okay, what the hell is going on there?
Viewed as a test of how far state officials can go in penalizing.
Hold on. Freaking thing. Oh, I know what it is now. Hold on. I gotta jump my car. Just hold on. No reason. I don't know why it died. Hold on. Sorry about that. Gotta jump the car real quick. Hold on. I don't know why. It never done before. And today's the first day, so. Sorry, but I have a jump box, so I don't need another car. For some reason, it shut the battery out before. I don't know what the. I've never had that before. Hold on.
Yeah, because he's not going to say it's everything. Or if he did say it, he'll go.
New customers bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Plus, over $200 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube TV. The crown is yours. An absolutely massive and historic win for President Trump today in the New York Court of Appeals, who threw out the $500 million civil fraud penalty that Donald Trump was handed by these two colluding scumbags who both belong in prison, and one may well end up in jail for mortgage fraud, which is exactly what they tried to charge President Trump with effectively. It was always a witch hunt, election interference, and total miscarriage of justice. Even a left-leaning New York appeals court agrees no more lawfare. Donald Trump Jr. and Eric Trump, both Trump boys, celebrating total victory in the sham New York Attorney General case. After 5 years of hell, justice has prevailed. In February of 2024, a New York judge ordered Trump and his companies to pay $360 million plus penalties, claiming they duped banks. This was the same court that says that Mar-a-Lago was worth just $18 million, when it is clearly a billion-dollar property. Anybody who's ever been there or knows anything about Palm Beach understands this. New York's appeals court throwing out the unprecedented politically motivated $500 million civil penalties case. They tried to impeach him, imprison him, bankrupt him, and kill him, and they failed. Huge win for Donald Trump. The court threw out the fraud penalty in Letitia James's case. Letitia James, ooh, baby, she can come get it. More on that in a second. Alina Habba, who was the spokesperson for President Trump during these cases, says today's ruling by the New York Appeals Court is a resounding victory for President Trump and his company. The court struck down the outrageous and unlawful $500 million penalty, confirming what we have said from the beginning, that the AG's case was politically motivated, legally baseless, and grossly excessive. President Trump won, and justice won with him. This is a massive L for Big Tish. My, how the tables have turned. Crime scene, Letitia James, in the act of election interference. The entire case against Trump was bogus. A crime was to file charges against him and the Trump organization in the first place. Every talking head lawyer jerk who fueled this sham should be disbarred and arrested. Remember, this is what Letitia James looked like as she stared at President Trump. She knew what she was doing. Here's Fox News covering the breaking news of the case. The New York Post as well. Trump's massive $500 million fraud case thrown out by appeals court.
Want to get back to this breaking news? A New York appeals court has thrown out the massive civil fraud penalty against President Trump, a huge win for the president. He was originally ordered to pay more than $360 million plus interest. He was accused, of course, of financial statements, and that penalty has since gone up to nearly $500 million. Our national correspondent Brian Yennis has the latest now about what this all means. Brian?
Hi, Aisha. Well, again, to remind our viewers, this was a civil fraud case brought forward by the Attorney General and the Trump organization inflated their value and the value of their companies on financial forms. The penalty that they then were handed down after being found guilty in this civil case, or liable, I should say, in this civil case, was that they had to pay $364 million plus interest, which after 11 months of looking at this case, the New York Appellate Court has decided to throw out that decision, that penalty, specifically the penalty. And this is the quote: while the injunctive relief ordered by the court is well crafted to curb defendants' business culture, the court's disgorgement order, they found, which directs that defendants pay nearly $500 million to the state of New York, is an excessive fine that violates the 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution. The 8th Amendment bans or calls out excessive bail that shall not be required, nor cruel and unusual punishments inflicted. So this appellate court found that $500 million that the Trump administration, that President Trump was set to owe to the state of New York, was cruel and unusual punishment, excessive, according to the law. The court did find, though, that the president and these defendants were liable. They agree that the Supreme Court, with the Attorney General, that the Attorney General acted well within her lawful power to bring this case forward. And they also found that the Supreme Court properly ruled only on the claims on this, but they obviously did not agree here on the penalty that was handed out. So basically here, after 11 months, the New York Appellate Court finding that this $500 million penalty was appeal here available for the president on other manners with this case, particularly on whether or not this was politically motivated.
My mom couldn't afford compounded GLP-1 injections until this. So Weight Loss by Hers offers access to the 12-month GLP-1 program. No insurance or in-person visits required. It's just one upfront pay.
On other manners with this case, particularly on whether or not this was politically motivated. Aisha.
Okay, Brian Yennis, live for us in New York. Thank you for breaking that down for us.
What I find so fascinating about this news cycle is that Letitia James is guilty of doing the exact same thing that she accused President Trump of doing. Here's investigator for the Department of Justice Ed Martin standing outside of Letitia James's rental property in Manhattan, where she claims, one, residency, but she also has other primary residences in, like, Virginia, for instance. And then, two, she also claims that there are more apartments than there actually are in the building. This is another form of fraud. Good morning, America. How are you? Says Ed Martin with a photo ominously in front of this building. Yeah, baby. Things are going to flip and flip hard for Letitia James. Letitia James is not going to do great in this with the DOJ looking into her, and also with Mar-a-Lago bars Trump from selling the estate. Trump nonetheless told banks, blah, blah, blah. Effectively, the ruling comes after some members of the 5-judge appeals panel appeared to be skeptical of the merits of the lawsuit brought by the AG. This is again in New York. Remember this scumbag? Remember this dirtbag, Arthur Ejgernon? You remember the stuff that came out about this guy? About how he effectively can just overrule juries anytime he wants to. Also covers his microphone in plastic. Judge called the size of the penalty troubling and questioned the law that James had used to sue Trump, which does technically require somebody to be harmed and morphed into something it's not meant to do. So this is something that is not. And oh, by the way, the judge are both elected Democrats. James campaigned on promising to investigate Trump calling the president a con man and a carnival barker. So it's going to flip around hard on Letitia James. Jonathan Turley sounding off on this on Fox News just a moment ago, breaking down what may be breaking next against Letitia James.
Jonathan, I want to ask you, this doesn't exonerate the president. It still finds him guilty of the crime, but it maybe gives him more of a fair shake.
Well, Aisha, thank you for having me on. This is obviously a tremendous victory for President Trump, but it's long overdue. This entire effort is a grotesque use of this New York law. No one lost money in this case. The banks actually wanted more business from President Trump. No one had ever seen an effort like this. It was an effort by Letitia James to have a trophy win against Trump. And what this opinion has done is to reduce what was a mounted marlin to something of a guppy. I mean, it has removed the fine and left in place the injunctive relief that President Trump can now appeal. So it is possible that even that could go to the wayside.
All right. So I hope you guys did appreciate this live stream tonight. This was the last one. We have more, but you guys are probably tired. They're ready. People go to bed early. So I'm going to let you guys go to bed here, but please remember, September 5th, we are going to go to Chicago, Illinois. We're going to do live interviews at the debate. Not really debate, more they're having like a thing in Chicago regarding about the illegals have rights and all thing. Well, they don't. But that's what they're having their meeting about at the City Hall in Chicago. So please help out towards the fund so we can get there. Or something. And park. If we do the car, we're going to have to find parking. So, on that note there, you all have a good night. Because I am tired. I did go to bed last night early, but not too early. I got up early and and helped out and worked. So, September 5th. We got to make sure that we got somebody, guys. I got to be there at before 10:30, so that means I have to leave here. If I have to leave early, so I leave here at 6 o'clock in the morning, so I can make sure I'm there on time. You have the link question? Yes, I do. Hold on one second. If you stay right there, don't move, I will get you the link there. Hold on. The link do you want the link for what, the donation link or the link for the event? I need to know exactly so I can know what to get. Do you want the link for the donation or the link for us going? Let me know what you need. Do you want the link for the day going or the link for donation link? So I can help you out there. Okay, donation link. Alright, donation link. I don't have it on me right now, but I will get it for you. Just hold on when I get to my Where did it go now? Of course, we need something. It's never where it should be. Of course. Why? Oh, right there. Right there. No. Yeah, right there. Alright, so we'll get you guys the donation link. Go ahead and donate to Cash App. It'll be under U.S.A. 76 for Ashley, but I will get you guys the donation link. So we all can make sure we get the right one. There we go. Boom. And yes, here we go. Yeah, because oh no, I'm trying to. It all depends on the money wise. I prefer to drive there, but if I drive there, I'm gonna have to get parking. And I plan on being here all day. I mean, it's going to be an all day thing here, because, I don't know, they're supposed to do like a, based about the legal rights, and then the course, and later on, the community safety, the whole 9 yards. But we're going to be doing live interviews. We're going to ask you questions in Chicago. And we're going to ask them a lot of questions. I mean, and I know they're real. I'm going to be wearing the Trump stuff there. Yes, I will be having my Trump stuff on. I don't care where I'm at. A lot of pussy might be really bold or no. I don't care. I'm going to wear me, and I'm going to be me. If people don't like it, there's a door. Don't let the door hit you as you walk out. So yeah, September 5th. That'll be in Chicago. That's a goal. And then the goal is to, if we had the money today, yesterday. We got the money today. We could have went to Chicago. They had a, the free DC protest going in Chicago, but we didn't have the money, so we just went to. So right now we did the live there now. Monday. This coming Monday, I am thinking about, if the weather's not bad, it's totally nice out. I'm thinking about this Monday, instead of doing the late night live stream, I might do a flag wave instead. That's what I'm thinking about doing. So I don't know. We'll see. It all depends on how I feel. And the weather. Because lately it's been really hot out or raining. But I think Monday it's hopefully really nice out. So I do appreciate everybody here has tuned in. So I don't know, let's take it day at a time. Remember, tomorrow's Sunday, tomorrow's church royale, and I think what Jericho was saying, I think we all need to go out there and protest at the Cracker Barrel. I think it's totally wrong. I mean, I don't really like Cracker Barrel, but I'm not a big fan of a Cracker Barrel. I think that what they're doing is what they're doing. I mean, I think they need to leave it the way, the old-fashioned way. I mean, you see what Bud Light did. Bud Light, their market went down. They lost a lot of customers. And the Cracker Barrel's going to get the same thing. So, on that note there, I am going to let you guys all go. You guys enjoy your night. Yep. Because I got to continue watching more stuff. Everything I play for y'all, I watch it first, and then I come back and I replay it all again later for you guys. So I have to see it multiple times. So, alright. God bless y'all. Have a good night.